The peak horsepower is 641, except it isn't. It's a little bit of a lie. It's actually 601, and the 40 horsepower is an overboost feature to which you have to press a button for, and then it stays on for about 10 seconds or so, or 20 seconds. Still, 600 horsepower in a vehicle that is not lightweight. It weighs 4,800 pounds. That's still a lot of power. This thing could be a hot hatch. It's a big hot hatch, but it's a very hot hatch. 0 to 60 comes in under 4 seconds. I want to say 3.2 or so. I haven't verified it because I'm sane and I don't really have the ability to do this. I do have sometimes access to the track, but I didn't have access to the track with this specific vehicle, which is a damn shame, because I think it would be a lot of fun on the truck. On a street, it is also fun. The acceleration is just insane. You will giggle in this car all the time. But, well, let's wait for the but. The handling is great too. These are, I think, 19.1 inch rotors with 21 inch wheels over them, and with really good quality. I think these are Pirelli PP0 tires. And this thing is sticky. This thing will hold you in the corners. Those brakes will stop you. And obviously this thing will accelerate your ass into the moon quite quickly. Those tires are big too, 275, 35, 21 in the rear, and probably the same in the front. Hyundai says that it's got a fancy limited slip differential in the back, ELSD, which I don't understand because it's got an electric motor in the back, one in the front. So I don't think there's a mechanical differential over there, but I couldn't find any specific details on this. It's an electric car. It does make noise like a gasoline car. I'll get to that later. Overall, I think it looks pretty badass. The matte black paint is a $1,000 option on this $63,000 car. Yeah, I don't know if I would opt for that. It does stick out. It does feel cool, but I spoke with some auto body experts. These matte paints are sort of a pain in the ass to take care of. You may not be able to wash them everywhere, or you have to be careful with them. I'm not sure, but if you want that color, which is very badass, just be careful what you do with it, you know? Other than that, you know, little fixings over there by the bottom piece over here, the different changes in colors. This thing is really, really cool. There's nothing to not like about it. Let's go inside. So this is obviously the Ioniq 5 van, in case you haven't figured that out yet. Inside over here, there's a few cool things. Steering wheel. It's very proper. It's nice and thick. Padded in all the right places at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, as opposed to 3 and 9, which is good. It's got drive modes over here. The drive modes are normal, sport, and eco. Obviously, there's more than that, but we'll get to that later. NGB, this is your boost button, the one that I told you about. It gives you the extra 40 horsepower for a little bit of time. Over here, I do believe this console is a little bit different from the conventional Ioniq 5. Inside over here are basic gauges, configurable in some ways, like they all are. The interesting part about it is these two buttons also configurable. I can press over here, and what it does is it changes this charge power gauge into a tachometer, and at the same time, I hope you can hear it, it turns on I'm going to close the windows just so you can hear it better. It turns on the speakers for the engine sound. It seems like a very light flywheel on that, very responsive, I would say, and of course it's meaningless because it's all fake. Kind of cool though, huh? It's got a shift light too, which you obviously can't shift. But yeah, shut up. It's great. This button is programmed for the N mode, and in here you've got settings that you preset over here. If we go over here, this is our configurable over here. What you want your custom 1 and custom 2 screen to be. I didn't mess with it too much. I just experienced the car in its natural form, in sport and normal mode on the road, as most people would leave it. There is there is a launch control. That's great. I'm not going to launch a 600 horsepower car on the street. I live in a city. I didn't really have an opportunity to do this, unfortunately. But I know it's stupidly fast. It will. The acceleration is so fast. There's almost like a feel of a torque steer in it too, which is pretty crazy. And the amount of force you get, it pushes you back into your seat, and you really need to be on top of it because it is really, really fast. All kinds of changes over here. The one thing that annoyed me is the one pedal driving. When I got this car, it was in auto mode over here, right? And what this is with these paddles, you adjust how much of the one pedal driving you do. And you go back and forth with it, blah, blah, blah. But there's a sign that says auto. It's because that's the newest version of it. And what the auto does is it looks ahead when you're driving in traffic, probably using the avoidance detection system, and very smoothly slows the car down or sort of anticipates the way you're going to drive. And that drove me nuts. I want to be in charge of the car. I want to be able to drive it. But this feature, this auto pedal thing, would just drive me nuts because it would start slowing down on its own. I would then accelerate it. It took the control away from me. Now, typically in cars, this is not necessarily a bad thing, but this is an enthusiast car, and most of us enthusiasts, we enjoy being in charge of it. So it took me a while to figure this out. I actually looked up a video on YouTube. You press and hold this paddle, and you turn the auto on and off. But it wasn't exactly intuitive. And then this is the max I pedal, meaning that as soon as you let go of the the accelerator, it will basically start slowing down. You minimize it, you put it in auto again. I'm not loving it yet. I need, I guess, more time with EVs to adjust to it. But the auto thing, it worked really great, but it sort of messed me up in the beginning. This is the car that I want to drive. It annoyed me that I couldn't quite, turn this off in the beginning. But otherwise, the seats, they're manual. They're not powered, but they are heated and they are ventilated. This thing lights up at night, which is quite cool. There's an armrest, but it's low enough where it doesn't interfere with your elbow when you're shifting, which is okay because there's nothing to shift. So basically, your hands stay on the steering wheel as you're driving. Other than that, this is really just an Ioniq 5 inside, which is not a bad thing because the Ioniq 5 is a pretty cool and interesting car. Going back here again, manual folding seats, armrest. This seat is set up for me, whose ass is 6'2", and pardon my sexy short legs, but you see how much room I got here. This is totally comfortable. I'm good on headroom too. Hello. And just like the conventional Ioniq, it's functional and it's fast and quick and very fun to drive. Same goes for the trunk. Now this is a 25 model. For 26, you will get a different socket. You'll get the Tesla socket over here with a plug-in conversion that will get you this. So you can charge it at Tesla stations. Really cool car. I wanted to drive it for some time. I liked it a lot, but I didn't love it. First thing is the range. I'm not complaining about the range. This is not a complaint. I'm not complaining. This is an observation. But this is sort of similar to, in a way that I wouldn't drive a Hellcat and say that it got less than 10 miles to a gallon. That would be stupid. But it's also the same thing here. And it's something you got to keep in mind is that the range says it's about 220, 230 from the factory. In reality, it's going to be under 200, but not for the reason because it lacks, because the numbers aren't real, but it's because I couldn't stop from driving this car myself like a hooligan, because the acceleration is just so addictive. You just want to just fucking go all the time. Go, 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 and accelerate because you just have a stupid grin on your face from it. And that's going to bring down your range quite substantially because you're always going to be on it. You're not going to take on-ramps very slowly. You're just going to want to have this stupid grin on your face and take it at speed, and that's going to kill your battery. Wow, it's a problem to have, so just keep mind of that. But if you're charging at home every night, this really shouldn't be an issue because most people don't drive more than 100 miles in a day. But road trips, you need to plan. A friend of mine was thinking about purchasing one of these in Chicago because they had a lot of them in stock, and driving it back to Connecticut. And he's like, yeah, stopping every 200 miles is going to be a pain in the butt, which I didn't disagree with. So just something to keep in mind. In terms of how I feel about this car, here's the thing: 60 grand or 65 or something like this is a lot of money. This thing is fast. It handles good. But I don't know if I would buy it. I'm not loving it. I'm not loving like every second of it. And maybe it's just me being weird, but you're not connected. You don't have that analog connection to conventional sports cars like would have been around for decades. And I don't expect it to. It's an EV. It is very different. That said, the lower Ioniq model, the non-N, is pretty darn quick itself. It handles really good too. It kicks the rear end out just as much as this does. They're really fun to drive cars. But if I wanted an electric car and a sports car and a hot hatch or something, that's what I would do. I would get an electric car for daily commute, for instance, if it works for you. It doesn't really work for me, but that's a different story because I have nowhere to charge. But if it works for you, I would get a conventional pedestrian version of this. Still a lot of fun, still functional. And then with the difference in money, I don't know, I would get a Boxster. I used Boxster, obviously. I used S2000. Maybe not S2000s because those are pricey. But, there's a lot of really good, fun sports cars for about 20 grand. And I would have two cars if space allows. But that's just me. This is fantastic. This is great. But it's trying to be all things to all people. And of course, there's a market for it. It just wouldn't necessarily be me. I still love the design of it. I love how it drives. I love how fast it is, how it handles. But it's just like the Fort Mackie Rally. It's just missing that extra connection, that feel, that analog feel, which I obviously don't expect an electric car to have. But it's probably amazing on the track. It's just feels rather generic, like all electric cars do. I don't know if there's future in electric sports cars that are fun to drive. Maybe I'm aging myself here. Maybe I'm dead wrong. I don't know. Feel free to bitch at me in the comments. But I'm glad I can still buy a different, a more conventional kind of a car than an electric sports car. One thing to know, the turning radius, because of the steering rack design, because of the bigger, wider wheels, it's about 40 feet, the turning radius, which is almost as much as a good-sized pickup truck. Just something to keep in mind. Other than this, it's a fantastic car. It just isn't for me, and I'm not sure if it's for many other people, especially given the price point. But I'm glad it's here. I'm glad it exists, and whoever gets this is going to love it. They really are. My view is two cars, and one just being an old school car with naturally aspirated engine, preferably with a hydraulic steering, and it's obviously not going to be nearly as fast, but it's going to be more enjoyable. So that's what this is. This gave me joy. This gave me, I don't know what I don't like about it is my problem, because it does everything so damn well. But it's lacking that certain something for me that's not making me say, I need to get it. It just isn't. Great car. Thank you. Bye.